There's one decision, just one, that can change the way toxic people interact with you forever. And no, it's not yelling back. It's not cutting them off in a fit of anger. It's something deeper, quieter, stronger. It's this: once and for all, that you will never entertain disrespect. That's it. When you stop explaining your worth, when you stop trying to fix people who don't want to change, and you stop lowering your standards to keep the peace, you don't lose people, you lose the wrong people. See, toxic people don't come into your life because they're stronger. They come in because you left the door cracked open. Maybe you wanted to be nice. Maybe you didn't want conflict. Maybe you hoped they'd change. But the truth is, what you allow is what continues. Most people talk about setting boundaries when dealing with toxic people. Block them, cut them off, say no more often. And while those things can help temporarily, they don't create lasting change. Because they deal with the symptom, not the cause. What really protects you from toxic people isn't just setting boundaries, it's setting a standard. A boundary says, don't cross this line. A standard says, this is how I live. One is a defense mechanism, the other is a way of being. And there's a big difference. When you set boundaries without standards, you're always on the defensive. You're constantly reacting to disrespect, explaining your value and hoping people understand. But when you set a standard, when you become crystal clear on what you accept, how you operate, and who you are, something powerful happens. Toxic people don't even get close. They can feel that they don't belong in your space. See, toxic people feed on confusion. They test your limits to see what they can get away with. But when your life is rooted in strong personal standards, there's nothing to test. You've already made the decision. You don't tolerate manipulation. You don't engage in gossip. You don't chase people who treat you like an option. That's just not who you are. Think about it like this. Boundaries tell others how to behave around you. Standards define how you behave with yourself. And when your relationship with yourself is strong, when you honor your values, your time, your energy, people are forced to meet you at that level or move on. You don't have to push them away. They simply don't feel welcome in an environment built on clarity, peace, and purpose. Setting a standard isn't about being rigid or arrogant. It's about being intentional. You decide what kind of energy you allow in your life. You decide how people speak to you, how they treat you, and how you respond when they don't show up with respect. And most importantly, you live by those same standards yourself. You can't expect loyalty if you're disloyal to your own needs. You can't expect honesty if you lie to yourself about what hurts. You can't expect respect if you constantly abandon yourself to keep others comfortable. The moment you raise your standard, everything shifts. You stop chasing validation. You stop over-explaining. You stop trying to fix people who don't want to grow. You become unavailable to anything that doesn't align with the life you're building. And it's not that you become cold or distant. It's that you become clear. Clarity repels toxicity. It's hard to manipulate someone who knows exactly who they are and what they deserve. It's hard to control someone who refuses to betray themselves just to be liked. That's the power of standards. So instead of thinking, how do I keep this toxic person out of my life, ask a better question. What kind of person do I have to become so they never feel comfortable entering in the first place? Because once you make that shift, once you set a standard and actually live it, you won't need to fight battles. You won't need to constantly protect your energy. Your life will do it for you. And the people who belong in your life, they'll rise to meet you there. There's a quiet power in learning to choose your response instead of reacting on impulse. It's a shift from chaos to control, not over others, but over yourself. Because toxic people don't thrive in truth, peace, or calm. They thrive in chaos, and more specifically, in your chaos. The moment you stop giving them that, the game changes entirely. Most people go through life in reaction mode. Someone insults you, you snap back. Someone disrespects you, you raise your voice. Someone triggers you, you explode. And in that moment, they've won. Not because you're weak, but because you let them pull you out of yourself. That's all they want, to see you shaken, to see you tangled in the mess they created. Your reaction is their fuel. But response. That's different. A response is grounded, it's deliberate. It says, I see what you're doing, and I choose not to play. It doesn't mean you stay silent out of fear. It means you stay calm out of strength. Because your energy is no longer available for petty arguments, emotional manipulation, or people who mistake attention for power. Choosing to respond instead of react is not easy. It requires awareness. It requires emotional maturity. It means pausing in the heat of the moment, taking a breath, and deciding who you want to be right now. Not who they're trying to provoke, but who you are when you're aligned with your values. That pause, that's where your power lives. Reactions are reflexive. They're built on wounds, ego, and old patterns. But responses are built on clarity. They come from understanding that not everything deserves your energy, your words, or your peace. And ironically, when you stop reacting, toxic people don't know what to do. They lose their grip. Because your peace is no longer for sale. You can't control what others say or do. But you can control how much power you give to it. You can control whether you let it live in your head, affect your mood, or shift your direction. And when you start protecting your response, you start protecting your future. Think about it. Every reaction is a transaction. You're giving away emotional currency. You're spending your time, your attention, your mental space on someone who may not even deserve your presence. But a response, that's an investment. It's rooted in long-term vision. It's aligned with who you're becoming, not just how you feel right now. Losing your response doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you manage them. You feel the frustration, but you don't let it dictate your decisions. You feel the anger, but you use it as information, not ammunition. Because if you can master your response, you can master your direction. People will try to bait you. Life will throw things at you. But the goal isn't to stop things from happening. The goal is to stop giving everything access to your emotion. You don't need to prove yourself in every moment. You don't need to defend your worth to people who question it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not react at all. So the next time someone tries to trigger you, remember this. You don't owe them your reaction. You owe yourself your peace. Let that guide your response. Because when you respond with intention, instead of reacting from emotion, you reclaim your power. And toxic people lose theirs. Self-respect is one of the most powerful filters you can ever develop. It's not loud, it doesn't demand attention, but it speaks volumes through your choices, your standards, and how you allow yourself to be treated. The way you carry yourself tells people everything they need to know about how they're allowed to show up in your life. When you respect yourself, you naturally start filtering out anything that doesn't align with your worth. You stop chasing people who treat you like an option. You stop justifying disrespect. You stop making space for behavior that violates your peace. Not because you're better than anyone, but because you finally remembered who you are. The world reflects back to you what you believe you deserve. If you're constantly tolerating disrespect, it's often because somewhere deep down, you're still negotiating your value. But when self-respect becomes non-negotiable, your entire life begins to change. The wrong people will feel uncomfortable around you. The right people will feel inspired by you, and you won't even have to say a word. Self-respect shows up in the small moments. The way you walk away from conversations that drain you. The way you say no without guilt. The way you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. It's not about being rude. It's about recognizing that your energy, your time, and your mental peace are valuable, and not everyone deserves access to them. A lot of people confuse self-respect with ego, but they're not the same. Ego seeks validation. Self-respect creates boundaries. Ego is about proving something to others. Self-respect is about proving something to yourself every single day. It's about choosing to stand tall, even when it's easier to shrink for the sake of acceptance. And here's the truth. The more self-respect you develop, the less tolerance you'll have for anything less than sincerity. Manipulation won't faze you. Games won't impress you. Attention won't distract you. Because you're no longer looking to be chosen. You're choosing yourself. And from that place of wholeness, you can be selective without apology. This is what makes self-respect a filter. You don't need to cut people off with anger. You don't need to scream your standards. You just live in alignment with them. And let your actions do the talking. You treat yourself well, and by doing so, you silently communicate, this is the level, rise to it, or move around it. That kind of quiet confidence is magnetic. It doesn't come from pretending to be perfect. It comes from doing the hard inner work, healing your wounds, facing your insecurities, and rebuilding your relationship with yourself. Once you've done that, you stop allowing access to people who only show up to tape. Because here's what most people forget. You train people how to treat you, not with your words, but with your standards, with what you accept, with what you continue to tolerate. Self-respect isn't just a mindset, it's a lifestyle. It's woven into your tone, your posture, your habits, your decisions, and it becomes a filter for who and what belongs in your life. The higher your self-respect, the more peaceful your life becomes. Not because nothing goes wrong, but because you stop inviting chaos in. You stop settling. You stop ignoring red flags. You stop betraying yourself to please others. So if you want to protect your peace, start by honoring yourself, not occasionally, but consistently. Every time you choose self-respect, you send a clear message to the world, I am not available for anything that does not reflect the value I've placed on myself. And from that place, you no longer have to fight for respect. You become the standard. There comes a point where you realize that arguing with toxic people is a trap, not a debate, not a conversation. Drama is a magnet. It pulls you in when you're bored, insecure, or lacking direction. It gives you something to react to, something to talk about, something to feel involved in. But the truth is, drama doesn't just waste your time, it drains your power. It distracts you from your goals, clouds your clarity, and slowly chips away at your peace. The moment you decide to become unavailable to it, everything begins to shift. Being unavailable to drama isn't about isolation, it's about elevation. It's about consciously choosing what and who gets your attention. Because your attention is currency. And drama is one of the most expensive things you can invest it in. It costs your energy, your focus, your peace of mind. And it gives you nothing back but noise and confusion. When you become unavailable to drama, you start to recognize the subtle ways it tries to pull you in. A comment meant to provoke you. A conversation filled with gossip. A text that's designed to get under your skin. And instead of engaging, you pause, you breathe, you ask yourself, is this worth my energy? And most of the time, the answer is no. The people who thrive on drama will always look for a reaction. They're addicted to chaos because it makes them feel important, involved, or in control. But when you refuse to react, when you don't play the game, they lose their grip, and you regain yours. Drama doesn't survive in silence, it feeds on reaction. When you stop showing up to every conflict, when you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, when you stop picking up every call that comes with tension, you create a boundary that doesn't need to be spoken. Your lack of engagement becomes the message. This isn't about being cold or dismissive. It's about being intentional. You can be kind without being available to nonsense. You can be compassionate without participating in toxicity. You can love people and still protect your peace from their patterns. People will call you distant. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of being too good for them. Let them. Because the truth is, when you stop entertaining drama, you stop being familiar to people who still live in it. Your peace makes them uncomfortable. Your calm threatens their chaos. But that's not your burden to carry. Becoming unavailable to drama means doing the internal work. It means healing the part of you that used to need the excitement, the validation, or the distraction. It means filling your life with purpose so you no longer need problems to feel alive. It means realizing that maturity is quiet, and real growth often happens in the moments you choose to stay silent and move on. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to answer every call. You don't have to be accessible to everyone at all times. Protecting your peace is not rude. It's responsible. You're not avoiding conflict because you're afraid. You're avoiding it because you know it's not worth the cost. So if you want to reclaim your time, your energy, and your focus, start here. Stop giving drama a seat at your table. Don't chase it. Don't feed it. Don't try to fix it. Just be unavailable. Build a life so full of purpose, so full of peace, that anything rooted in chaos can't survive in your space. Because when drama knocks and there's no one home, eventually it stops coming back. There's a moment in everyone's life where everything shifts, not because the world changes, but because you do. And it doesn't take a massive plan or a perfect situation. Sometimes all it takes is one decision, one clear, powerful, and personal decision to no longer live the way you've been living. That's when everything changes. We often underestimate the power of a single decision because we're taught to believe change has to be complicated, that we need a 10-step plan, that we need more time, that we need to wait until things are easier, calmer, or more certain. But the truth is, your life doesn't change when things get easier. It changes when you get stronger. And that strength starts with one decision. It might be the decision to stop tolerating disrespect. It might be the decision to cut ties with a toxic pattern. It might be the decision to finally believe you are worthy of more. Whatever it is, that moment is a turning point. Not because everything is suddenly perfect, but because you're no longer available for what drains you. And once you make that choice, you'll find the strength to follow through, even when it's hard. And decision can break the cycle. The one you've been stuck in for months, maybe years. The one where you keep explaining yourself to people who don't listen. The one where you keep dimming your light to keep the peace. The one where you keep betraying yourself just to feel loved. That cycle ends the moment you decide no more. And it's not about announcing it to the world, it's about making a silent promise to yourself that this version of you, the one who's been surviving, shrinking, compromising, is done. You're not here to prove anything anymore. You're here to live fully, clearly, and on your terms. That one decision becomes your filter. From that moment on, everything either aligns with your new standard or it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you'll start walking away with less explanation and more peace. You'll stop asking, am I being too much? And start asking, is this enough for me? That's how clarity is born. People might not understand your decision. Some will question it. Others will resist it, especially if they benefited from your old patterns. But that's okay. Your growth doesn't need their permission. One decision can feel uncomfortable at first, even lonely. But on the other side of that discomfort is freedom, real freedom. The kind that can't be taken from you because it came from within you. You don't need a full plan. You just need the courage to say, this ends here. And then honor that decision every day. Not perfectly, but consistently. One choice becomes a habit. One habit becomes a pattern. One pattern becomes a lifestyle. But it all starts with one decision. It could be the decision to speak up. The decision to stop explaining. The decision to take your power back. The decision to leave, to stay, to begin again. Whatever it is, trust that it's enough to start a ripple, and that ripple will touch every area of your life.